Hey, you guys. This is Winding Down Late Night Conversation with PAVANI J and LAKEYZ, and King Jacob is out tonight. But we have Mr. the Arthur Ramon here with us, and we have an amazing story, and he has an amazing story for us. But you guys know how we do it here. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm LAKEYZ. I'm sorry, I'm PAVANI.
Long story short, that was my introduction into the drug game. That was October 1988. February the 2nd, our door was being kicked in by the police. They kicked our door in. They found, I want to say it was 2 or 3 crack rocks wrapped up in some tissue that belonged to my oldest brother. However, the police arrested all 3 of us and gave all 3 of us the same charge. Gave us a high bond, held us in jail long enough for us to plea bargain for 3 rocks, 2 or 3 rocks. So after 72 days in jail, I'm ready to get out. I signed a plea bargain, and I didn't realize at the time, I became a convicted felon at the age of 17.
Wow.
My brother Pee became a convicted felon at the age of 18. My older brother became a convicted felon. He had already turned 19. I'm gonna say he had already turned 20. So they released me, and now keep in mind how I told you about the foster care situation and stuff like that. So we didn't have a lot of stability. So I come home, let you know I'm on the streets again. I'm basically homeless. I have nowhere to stay. Sleeping outside, sleeping at the parks. Because my mom, she was around, but my mom was still an alcoholic, and she barely had a place to stay of her own. So it's not like I could say I'm gonna go to my mother's house. Just didn't have nobody. And that led to, I had a violation of parole because a violation of probation. When I signed that plea bargain from jail, I was placed on intensive probation. So I had to be at a residence at a certain time of the day when he came to check on me. So now I have nowhere to stay. He can't check on me nowhere. So they violated my probation.
Right.
For curfew status. So when I go to court about that, the judge sent me to prison for curfew violation. I was 17 years old. I was sent to prison for curfew violation. Now, at the time when I was in the courtroom, there was a white guy. I want to say he was in his 20s, maybe 25, 26. He had broken into a family member house and stole a VCR. His probation was reinstated. He actually committed a crime. They sent me to prison at 17 for curfew violation.
Wow.
So that was it. I was sent off to prison. I did about 20 months, came home. I wasn't able to go to a halfway house or nothing to make no money. So when I came home, I was placed into my oldest brother. So when we went to foster care, the foster family that he had, I stayed with them a couple months so I was able to get on my feet.
Right.
Which really wasn't able to get on my feet. And I eventually found myself wandering the streets again, homeless. And I was like, I won't say I did what I do best, but all I could actually do was go up on the block with the fellas and get me some crack and flip it and, go get me a hotel room, stuff like that. So that's how I actually got back into, the game of the hustle. So that led me, this in 91. So that led me coming down to Georgia to look for my family. So I came down here, I found my father's side of the family. And my father no longer lived in Georgia. He was living in Seattle at the time. So, hey, I just did what I do. I found, the hustle on the street. So here I am selling crack again. I go back to North Carolina and I was introduced. I was introduced this, I used to shoot a lot of basketball. So I'm at the ballpark shooting ball a lot. And I used to see this guy, he used to pull up in the nice cars, the Jettas, the Cherokees. Those were nice cars back then.
Yeah.
All this foreign thing, these guys driving foreigns, that didn't even exist in the hood back then.
Right.
If somebody had a Honda Accord back then, it was balling. So I used to see I used to see guys pull up, see this guy pull up, and he used to wear a lot of jewelry. And he had a lot of drugs. And I'm like, we was cool because we shot ball. So I'm like, yo, dude, what are you doing? I said, I never see you on the block really doing nothing. I said, you got all this jewelry, I was like, he said, I'm robbing.
Mm.
I said, what you robbing banks? He said, no, I rob drug dealers.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Like you do? He's like, yeah, you want to go with me next time? I'm like, hell yeah. So maybe a year or so later, probably a year would pass before I actually went out on with him. And we took probably a quarter key, jewelry, and cash. And I was just thrilled with that because where I was from, an ounce of crack would cost you $1,200. But we went and took it from the guy, so we got it free. And that just went to my head. The cash, free. The jewelry, free. So that's all I need to see now, and I locked in right there. And that became my MO, robbing drug dealers.
Stick up.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I felt that robbing drug dealers wasn't really bad because I didn't feel the police would do anything because they drug dealers. I didn't figure they could tell. They drug dealers. What's the big deal? So, like I said, I made a name for myself back home. The name that I've shared it now because people see me as who I am. But I never robbed nobody in my hood. I'll go out of town, rob drug dealers, come back, bless the block, that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, here I am, 1994 rolls around and I'm down here in Atlanta. I used to be back and forth and I'm doing my thing. I'm running from the police in North Carolina because when I made parole and came home, like I said, I didn't have a lot of stability. Now they looking for me for parole violation for leaving the state. So now I'm on the run.
Welcome.
So it's like one charge after another. Now I've made a name for myself in Atlanta, the same as I had in North Carolina. So now I'm out here on Candler Road in Decatur, and people are intimidated by me, reputation. And I was really gassed off of it back then. People see me, and I see fear in people's eyes, and I'm only 6 foot, $170, and that goes to your head. So I meet this guy. He told me, he can get me some weight. So when I told him I wanted a half a kilo of cocaine. So he told me what the price was. So I jump on the phone. I call my people in North Carolina. They fly down here to Georgia, 5.5 hour, 6 hour drive. So hey, we go meet the drug dealer to go get the stuff. Unfortunately, things just didn't go right this night. Like we've been doing this for years. Nobody never shoot no gun. The object is not to shoot nobody. It's to get the drugs, the money, the jury, or whatever, and be gone. This night, like I said, this night changed my life forever. I'm gonna start at the top. The guy that I met had an apartment, so we go to his house, and we sit there and await the guy to actually bring the drugs. So while waiting on the guy, I just pulled a gun out on the guy, and we just went head on and taped him up and got him out the way. We wait, I want to say 30 minutes for the other guy to pull up with the drugs. The guy didn't pull up. So I'm like, yo, man, let's go. Dude ain't coming. But my co-defendant, the one I told you wore the jewelry, I don't want to say his name. He was like, hey, nah, man, they coming. So next thing you know, a Jeep pull up in front of the apartment. So he goes out, then he ended up coming back in because the guy in the Jeep wanted to, as a matter of fact, when the Jeep pull up, a guy get out and come in. So when he come into the apartment, we draw down on him. Tie his hands up with speaker wire, push him off in the corner. So my co-defendant goes back out to the Jeep to tell the other guy to come in. Unfortunately, it didn't go right. The dude was like, he thought something was amiss. So he said, man, tell my homeboy to come out here and let me know everything is okay. So he came back in and brought the guy that we take with the speaker wire to the patio door. And he hollered out there and told the guy, said, hey, man, everything is cool. Come on in. But he did that at gunpoint. So around that time, a co-defendant heads back outside. I go to the back room and I look out the blinds to see if the guy was still in the Jeep. So as I look out, I didn't see no movement in the Jeep. So as I stepped back from the window, I heard 4 shots. I hear these shots. So again, like I said, I've been doing this for years. we don't shoot no guns. No, we got them mainly to scare you, but not you ain't trying to shoot nobody. I ain't trying to shoot nobody. He wasn't trying to shoot nobody. Anyway, it happened. I heard the 4 shots. So as I run out the room and head up to try to go out the front door, I see my co-defendant push the guy inside the apartment, and the guy fell. So when I look down, the guy had you can tell he'd been shot in the chest somewhere because you can see the blood. So I run out, jump in the car. Now another one of my co-defendants was sitting in the car as like the getaway driver. So I'm like, yo, let's go. But my co-defendant, the one who shot the guy, he was going through the guy's Jeep looking for the drugs. Anyway, he found the drugs. We jump in the car and we go. Of course, I'm thinking about, what happened? Why you shoot this guy? What happened? He said the guy pulled a gun out on him. And he said the guy got off a shot. And the guy did get off a shot because my co-defendant shot 3 times. The other guy shot once. So that night, we get to a hotel and everything. So my co-defendant and one of his homeboys, they going back to North Carolina. So I'm staying down here in Georgia. So I always watch the news, even on the street. I'm gonna watch the news, local news, world news, and read the newspaper. I did that every day. So early that morning, I just wanted to know what happened with that guy. I'm hoping that guy didn't die. So I turned the news on, and it's the top story. And it was like, man walked in on apparent armed robbery in progress and is gunned down. So I'm like, oh my God, man. Like I said, we've been doing it for years, but nobody never died. So that changes the makeup of everything.
Right.
So not like I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna go turn myself in. So I ended up the next day. I go to North Carolina. Me, my co-defendant, the guy said that was the driver. We go back home to North Carolina. I go get me a hotel room at the Super 8, and he ended up going back home. A couple hours later, he gets arrested. And I found out that he was arrested on a warrant from Georgia, because when we had the hotel room in Georgia, he had got the room with his driver's license. And his driver's license was registered back to Southern Pines, North Carolina. So that's how the police got a lead. So with me being a known associate, my name pops up. So they got a bolo, be on the lookout for me and him. So when they arrest him that morning, he had some Super 8 matches in his pocket because that's the hotel room I got. So when he got the room, he put the matches in his pocket. So when the police stripped him down as they took him into the jail, they seen the matches. So of course, they're gonna check all the Super 8s in that area. Fortunately for me, I was smart enough, I left that room just in time. So that starts with like a big whirlwind of everything. So now I'm like, man, I never looked at it as a murder charge on me. I thought maybe they hit me for armed robbery or something, but still I just knew it was serious, whether I shot the guy or not. So I had already been on the run from North Carolina. Now I go on the run. A couple of months, like I said, my co-defendant was arrested, the driver, and 2.5 months later, my co-defendant, the one that wore all the gold that shot the guy, he was arrested. So now I'm the only one on the streets. So periodically I would call to the sheriff department in North Carolina to ask, were my 2 co-defendants still in jail? I used their names. And one day I called, it was like, yeah, this one is still in jail, but the other one has been extradited to Georgia. I'm like, wow. The other one was fighting extradition. So it was June 15th, 1995. Now I get in my car one day at a hotel. I'm out here, selling crack. I get in my car. I don't know that I'm being watched by the FBI, the GB, everything with an eye on it. Watch me. No local.
That's not funny. I'm sorry. I just understand.
No local. No local authorities was involved in it. So I get in my car, me and my girlfriend, and I ride up the street, and I see a car, a high-speed chase. So I'm looking like, wow. I'm thinking everything is all good. So I make a left into the hotel room, to the hotel. I was actually going to drop off some drugs to a guy that was working for me and go pick up a gun, just street stuff. I pull into the hotel, and maybe a minute later, a white Suburban pull in behind me, and two white guys jump out. Was like, freeze. So in my mind, I'm in Georgia. You know, first thing come to my mind is rednecks, road rage. I'm trying to figure out who did I turn in front of these guys? Then it dawned on me. That's them folks. So I took off running. They shot at me two or three times, and I tripped in the kudzu patch. So once I tried to get up, I seen the FBI, whatever the guy, he was about to actually shoot me. So I threw my hands up. Anyway, they take me in. When the fugitive squad took me in to the Cobb County Jail, that same day, North Carolina had sent a whole folder of me about, me, pictures of me and everything. Anyway, that day I was arrested in the Cobb County Jail, no bond. Reality didn't even set in immediately. When I was in a holding cell, they came and got me. They came and took me out twice because the internal affairs wanted to talk to me because the police shot at me. So anytime shots are exchanged, whether you shooting or the police shooting, the attorney affairs gonna come in and investigate. So when they took me out the cell, they shackled me up. I'm talking about like I was a serial killer or something. So when they took me out and brought me back, the other inmates was looking like, man, what you done did? Because they were probably locked up for DUI, stealing a candy bar, a quick trip or something, something petty. So they looking at me crazy. That's when it actually dawned on me, this is not no joke. I'm talking about it's probably over with for me. Like I said, it was the 15th I was arrested. So I sat in jail. It was the 13th of July. That's when I actually saw my charges. And I was charged with 2 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of armed robbery, 2 counts of false imprisonment, and 2 counts of aggravated assault.
Wow.
Aggravated assault was a charge, pointing the gun. That's where the aggravated assault come in at. False imprisonment was like holding, it's just a step under kidnapping, like holding somebody against their will.
Yep.
The felony murder is being in the commission of the felony, whether you shot the person or not. You was in the commission of a felony and somebody died, everybody get charged with the same thing. So, and the armed robbery come in where taking something from somebody at gunpoint. So now I'm sitting here like, I can beat this. And I felt I can beat this charge. I said, I ain't shot nobody. I ain't worried about that. And that's in my mind. So I'm looking at the stuff. The evidence can't tie me to shoot nobody because I ain't shoot nobody. But at the time, I really didn't understand the party to the crime thing. So I felt so confident about it. I told the judge I ain't want no lawyer. I represent myself. And like a fool, I stepped into the courtroom in December 1995 and I represented myself. Not knowing court laws and procedures, the rules, I didn't know how to, subpoena, submit. I didn't know how to do nothing. And after 2.5 day, maybe 3-day trial at the most, from start to finish, by the 3rd day, I was convicted and sentenced.
Man.
Kangaroo court. So the day, like I said, I thought I did a good job, but I just wasn't able to prove stuff because I wasn't able to bring the witnesses in, the medical examiner, the crime scene unit people. I wasn't able to bring them in and go over their documents with them to exonerate me. Anyway, my co-defendant testified. The one who shot the guy said that I told him I shot the guy. My other co-defendant, the getaway driver, by him sitting in the car, he actually seen the shooting. So he wrote a statement saying that this guy shot the guy. But on my trial day, when I needed him to come testify, his lawyer went to the county jail and told him that if he came to testify in my behalf, that the district attorney would take his plea bargain of the 15-year plea bargain and give him a life sentence. So he wanted no parts of that. So he didn't come testify. So my conviction came from he said, she said. He said that I told him I shot this guy. So The judge sentenced me. I was sentenced to life in prison.
Wow.
I was 24 years old. Now keep in mind, now I've manned up and accept sole responsibility for what I did. But being sentenced to life in prison for this, knowing the district attorney, knowing I didn't shoot nobody. Yeah, I participated in armed robbery. I can accept that. But that murder. So when the judge sentenced me, I walk out the courtroom, just regular straight face. And reality didn't hit me until I got to the holding cell. There was a lot of people in the holding cell. You don't want to cry in front of no bunch of people. But I ain't had no choice. My life was over with. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in there, tears coming out of my eyes, and guys was like, hey man, like, yo, what's going on? I was like, man, these people just gave me life. It was like, what? Keep in mind, I'm in a cell with guys. The most time somebody might have had was 30 days. That kind of stuff. Like, like a crackhead or don't did something, the most pettiest crime. That's those guys. I was the only guy that got hit. Man, I had them guys, I seen this, they was more sadder than me. They were like, yeah, bro, you're gonna be all right. So by the time I got to the jail, I had them, accepted whatever, and I walk into the back into my cell block. Keep in mind, I was on what they call the 8th floor. Everybody on my floor had a high profile charge. So most of the guys I had seen on TV when I was out on the street. So I walked in, it was like, bro, what happened? What happened? I said, they gave me life. I said, you don't look like it. You go like, shit, what is it to look like now? They don't gave it to me now. So, but I had always thought in my mind, I said, I'm gonna beat this. So of course I'm doing all the litigating, I'm doing all this. So they shipped me off to jail they shipped me to prison a few months later. So here I am in Georgia, really don't know nobody because I left as a kid. They sent me to Waycross, Georgia, to a close security prison in a redneck town. I don't know nobody, but I know how to handle myself. So I get down to that prison, and the first thing I do is hit the law library. I got to work on my case. So I was filing all kind of motions. Everything that I filed, even up to my appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court, they shot it down. They would use things like harmless error. Like, who says a harmless error? Such and such lied. This didn't do this. This wasn't right. They say harmless error. So you're gonna lose faith. So my brother hired a lawyer for me to do a habeas corpus for me. So when the Hague was filed, man, that lawyer took the money. I never had a court appearance. And that was around like 1999, my family hired the lawyer. He was telling my mom, and at the time my mother had moved back to Washington, D.C., that I'm gonna have your son out, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And I never had a court appearance. The man took the money. So here I am now. I'm litigating again. So around this time, I started writing in 2000. So I found my escape when I wrote. And I read every book you can imagine I read. So I'm writing, reading, still shooting basketball. I'm not litigating like I had been. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna say that I stopped fighting, but the way them courts shoot you down so much, they're gonna knock the fight out of you. So here I am. I didn't mention that I had 4 kids. When I was arrested, I had 3 daughters. The oldest being almost 10 months. I had a 10-month-old, a 4.5-month-old, and a 3-month-old, and a 2-year-old. So, but in my mind, I always figure I'm gonna get out of prison. And by the time my kids in kindergarten, that's what I always thought. The years passed. 2002, parole eligible. They set me off 8 years. Because in Georgia, even with a life sentence, you're eligible for parole after so many years. That doesn't mean you're gonna get it. So it's just like they look at. I don't even think they look at the files. So in 2002, I come up for parole. I was denied 8 years, so I had to wait until 2010 to come back up. So around that time, I kicked the fight again. I started litigating harder. I'm back on my square. They kept knocking me down. So the latter part of the 2000s came. I just stopped doing it and just really started focusing more on my writing career. And around that time, I had submitted some work to Oster Publications, a couple of my manuscripts, and they gave me a 2-book deal.
Wow.
And I did this with I wrote longhand. None of my stuff was typed. You know, they offered me a 2-book deal, and I signed it. And some people like, man, you crazy for sending your stuff out. I'm like, man, listen, that stuff just sitting in my locker, man. It's just sitting in my box. Nobody know I can write. But you know, they gave me a chance. Unfortunately, due to the recession and all that stuff in 08, everything went down. So they shelved my books indefinitely. But they gave me the opportunity. They said you can walk or you can just, you know, stay and wait it out. I was like, nah, I just walk. So here, 2010, I'm up for parole again. My family had went out. We got petitions. They did petitions for me. People signed letters, all types of stuff. Go to the parole board. So I'm sitting back hoping for something positive. My parole was denied again. This time they set me off 5 more years. So now that 15 I'm turned into 20. So around that time I end up linking up with a girl I knew from high school in North Carolina. She and I got married. She jumped in the trenches with me and she married me while I was in prison. So she's like, I'm gonna help you, get your books and stuff published. So I had already had an LLC, JMK Publishing LLC, because in 2010, while all this was going on, my 16-year-old son passed away in his sleep. So that was a whole nother thing I had to deal with. They said he had an enlarged heart and he died in his sleep. So with me, that was tough. And I was able to get through it. And I was like, if I can deal with this, I think I could deal with anything. So, of course, I'm dealing with that. Of course, they didn't allow me to go to the funeral, even though my family would have put up the whatever money that was needed to, get me up to North Carolina for the funeral. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get the chance. So now it's like, let me put my focus on my books. So I put my focus on my books. 2014, my first book was published, The Come Up. I sold a lot of them. They did well. Also, around that time, I'm up for parole again. I don't finish the 5-year set off. I completed like all type of classes. They have all type of stuff in Georgia. So I'm going up to all this stuff, doing everything the council and them say do. Petitions again. They had a lifers group in Georgia, and you go through all type of with the lifers group. Mainly you talk about everything. You're really trying to uplift each other because everybody in there is messed up. Trying to uplift each other. Look, a little group like that. But anyway, and I met the parole people. Some of the parole people came down to the prison, and I met them and I talked to them. So I just know in 2015 I'm gonna make my parole. Again, I was denied. So they set me up this time for 3 years. So now that pushed me to 23. So at this time, while I was set up, I ended up doing 3 more books. I published 3 more of my books. I signed another book deal with Life After Death Publication, and they published my last 2 books, A Hustler and a Married Woman and When Players Play. So 2018, I'm up for parole. And of course, I got to make this parole because now the Georgia prison system had gotten so bad, overrun by gangs. I'm telling you. And when I entered the system in Georgia, gangs didn't even exist. By 2018, it was running rampant in the Georgia prison system, and people are dying. Somebody getting stabbed and killed in the Georgia prison system, especially around 2018, at least once a month, minimum. There's a lot of people, you having stabbings daily, but people started dying. I'm talking about at least once a month, somebody was dying at the prison. And me, I was a target. I was a target because they considered I was from out of state, basically. I always had a few extra dollars because I hustled. And by me not being affiliated with, I'm not a Muslim. I didn't hang with the Christian community. And I was just all by myself. I'm a loner. So I'm a target. So I have to walk around with a shank. I don't want to stab nobody because I don't want to catch more time. But I got to have something to protect myself. So at 2018, my counselor called me up to the counselor's office. And, you know, because the parole letters went straight to the counselor in state prison. So I go up there and, you know, she opened up my letter. As she opened the letter, she was like, unfortunately, and I know unfortunately meant that I was denied parole again. This was 15. Said you're going to come up again in 2018. I'm like, all right, cool. So as 2019 came, my counselor called me up to the office. And I don't think I had ever told her that I wrote books. And somehow she had got wind. Because the officers, I had let several officers read my book while they was on duty, and a lot of the inmates, you know, they would talk about my work. So she was like, "You write books?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I went down to the dorm. I didn't only bring my books; I brought my 2 book contracts too, and showed them to her. She was like, "Wow, you did this?" I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." She was like, "I'm gonna get Miss Etheridge to talk to you." Miss Etheridge is a parole lady that comes to the prison about once a month to talk to, you know, whatever inmates that's eligible for parole. So when she said that, I'm like, yeah, right. About 2 months passed, Mr. Etheridge came to see me. And I took my work up there and I showed it to her.
Mm-hmm.
She was blown away. Keep in mind, after almost 24 years in prison, I only had 6 disciplinary reports. And that was like phone charges, cash money, you know, stuff like that. Never nothing violent.
Right.
And the lady said that she said, Kegler, she was like, I'm gonna get you out of here. Like, I'm saying to myself, you're right. So I was so sure that they wasn't gonna get me out. I put in a transfer shortly after, and I was transferred to another prison. I was at that camp 2 months. 2 months after I arrived at the new prison, I get a parole letter saying that I had been granted clemency. Wow. And getting those parole letters meant, you know, they're gonna let us go. So I couldn't believe it. Finally, you know, I felt that, you know, I'm gonna go home. I get the letter. So now, with me knowing what I know, I have to wait 90 days because during that 90 days, I think they're calling the victim's family, just checking. They're doing all type of stuff, try to see if they're gonna be okay to release me. So actually, it took 108 days before I got the second letter. The second letter that I got saying that I was pending, that I had been granted parole, and that I'm waiting on the bed to go to a transitional center. A week to the day that I got that letter, my counselor called me into the office and told me that I was transferring that night, which they don't supposed to tell nobody. But she told me I was transferring that night. And I was like, where I'm going? She said, you're going to Clayton TC. TC means transitional center. So, man, of course, that morning, they shackle us up. I'm talking about they got you locked down because I don't know if y'all know or not. I want to say it was back in 2017, maybe 2018. 2 guys escaped from prison. They killed 2 prison guards with their own guns. So that's why they don't took a lot of precaution when they transferring inmates. Anyway, I get to the transitional center. The man let us off the van, take all the chains off me. So here I'm standing outside, looking across the street at a hotel. I couldn't believe it. It was like, I can run if I want to, but you know what I'm saying? Who gonna run from a halfway house? But I feel this is my freedom. Keep in mind that this time I've been gone almost 24 and a half years. So I'm like, when I enter the building, I see guys at the transition center that I knew from doing time with. And the first thing some of them guys are like, man, this place ain't nothing. Man, I hate it here. I said, man, are you crazy? I said, we ain't in prison no more. Man, you can't do this. What are you trying to do? I'm like, come on, we're gonna go home. But anyway, after like 30 days or so in a halfway house, you know, they allow you to go out and get a job. But they had problems with me because my Social Security card wasn't coming back right. So my counselor takes me to South Lake Mall in Morrow, Georgia to get my Social Security card straight. But keep in mind, I ain't seen no people. I haven't been in society. So I leave this halfway house and me and the counselor goes to this place. So when we walk into the Social Security place, there's a lot of people sitting in there waiting. Scared me to death. I'm talking about just seeing regular people. And in my mind, I'm thinking they know I'm in prison. They don't know I'm locked up, but in my mind, I'm so messed up in the head, having been locked up too long. I'm thinking everybody looking at me like paranoid. And my counselor seen it. Emmy, she was like, everything gonna be all right. Like pat me on the back like I was a dog or something. But I was happy to be there. But like I said, at the same time, I was nervous. So it wasn't long after that before I was able to get a job. So I go on my job interview and I'm nervous, but they would basically they were gonna hire me anyway because they hire inmates for cheap labor. They gave me I was making something like $8.50 an hour. Who works for $8.50 an hour? Yes, an ex-convict will. Somebody like me, because in prison I work for free. They didn't give me a dime. Only thing they gave us was a pack out, maybe 2 sandwiches, an orange, and a cookie or something. And we work for that. So now I do have a wage, even though $8.50 is no money. I don't care. Any money is better than no money. And I'm gonna go home. So I get to working. They told us not to go nowhere. No, don't leave the grounds of the job. But once I got there, the other inmates said, yeah, man, you can walk to the store, you can do this. So I took the initiative and I walked to Family Dollar, which was only a couple of blocks away, to go get some earbuds for my phone. When I walked in there, I figured I had to kind of adjust it a little since I had went to go get my Social Security card. I walked in that place, that Family Dollar, and seen all them people. I don't think I was in that store 30 seconds. Nervous and scared, thinking everybody looking at me. Back to my job. And I called my brother and I told my brother what happened. He said, man, I'm gonna come tomorrow and I'm gonna take you. Everything gonna be cool. So he took me the next day. And just the adjusting back into society was kind of tough. But by the time I left the TC, June the 30th, 2020, I left. But prior to me leaving, I had been unemployed because March 20th, COVID hit so hard that the warehouse I worked at shut down. Right. The whole transition center shut down. So I'm thinking they're not gonna let me make my parole because you're supposed to have a job for 90 days. I didn't work 90 days, but due to COVID, they waived it. And they paroled me, they let me go home. So 2 weeks after my release, fortunately for me, I had $8,000 when I got out of prison. So I wasn't all the way broke. Less than 2 weeks of my release, I get a job through a temp service called Very Able. It's pronounced variable, but it's spelled Very Able. I get the job. I work every day. I'm going to work every single day. I'm working for being through the temp service for a scooter company. Now I'm working doubles. I'm working 7 days a week. Sometimes I'll work 28 straight days, and I work a lot of doubles. I had worked so much through the temp service that I became the #1 temp service worker in the whole state of Georgia. I still got the little ribbon thing. Out of all these people in Georgia, I was the #1 temp worker. I took full advantage of it. I'm living with my brother. I'm saving all my money. Keep in mind, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party, I don't do the booty clubs, I don't do nothing. I'm steady focused on stacking this money. Me and my brother ended up having some words about COVID because he's working from home, I'm working from outside. So I just packed up my stuff one day, no love lost, and I went to an extended stay hotel. And I stayed there. I started driving Lyft because as a temp service worker, I was working at the scooter company. And when they get wintertime, ain't nobody riding scooters like that. So they started letting people go. So I started driving Lyft. But prior to me becoming a Lyft driver, I went on YouTube and see how everything was done. To make a long story short, I'm making averaging like $2,200, $2,300 a week as a Lyft driver here in Atlanta. So I went from that, I ended up, I signed on with Bird. Bird is a scooter company. So I signed on with this company to become a fleet manager. And they accepted me. So I became a fleet manager. So now I got my own fleet of scooters. So I go buy me a pickup truck. I go lease space where I can charge my scooters. So now I'm making over $8,000 a week as a fleet manager with Bird. So after taxes, I would see my check be like $3,500, $3,400. This weekly, I'm banking, I'm working and saving, working and saving, working and saving. So I was able to get way ahead. But here's my downfall with that. since I had been incarcerated and did so much time, I had went and bought a Range Rover, which I didn't have long. I bought a Land Rover. I bought a Mercedes Benz. I bought that F-150, and I bought a Jeep Grand Cherokee. So of course it was the wrong move, but I had been gone so long, and I wasted a lot of money. So I don't downsize the cars. All I have now is my Jeep. I'm not doing Lyft anymore because of the platform. They did a hard background check on me, and all my past came up, so they cut me from Lyft. Also, with the scooter company, I resigned because they made me move my fleet out of Atlanta to Brookhaven, to where my income felt like I'm only bringing home like $700 to $900 a week. I can't survive off that. I can survive off that money, but I'm not going to be locked in making that little money. So that's when I went back to driving Lyft. Now they took me off the Lyft platform, so I signed up for DoorDash. Now I do DoorDash, I do Amazon Flex. So I'm not going to get a conventional job. Right now I'm looking to invest because I've saved money. I'm looking to invest in what I'm probably end up getting a Sprinter van or something. Like I say, but the key to my success, I came home, I'm not angry at nobody. I'm not mad at the system. I'm not blaming nobody. It's like, I can't change the past. It's like water under the bridge. I don't have stuff in the back of my head holding me back. I just take off, like I say, I do my thing. And fortunately for me, my youngest daughter, she's 26 years old. She lives with me and my two grandkids and the two kids she got. So I'm happy to have them around, happy to do the father thing. I help a lot of people. I don't think there's not a week passed by that 2 or 3 people is not, hitting me up for some money. And a lot of times, I would give it to them. Because I done been down the road they done been down. I'm not gonna give out anything to where I feel it's gonna actually hurt me, but I help a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. I try to share my story with them to tell them, like, basically what I've been through. Like I say, I don't hold no grudges. What's done is done. All I can do is do the best I can moving forward.
Ramon, let me ask you a question, man. With all you've been through, and finally getting that break that you was gonna come home, how much of spiritual enlightenment did you have to keep that faith? Because you said that one day you knew you was gonna come home. So let's talk about your spiritual growth as a man, because when you went in, you was a boy. Yeah. But as time go on, you grew to be a man. So how was that spiritual enlightenment and that spiritual growth, and has that spiritual growth trickled on to help others that you counsel as well? Because when you tell others about your story and they're going through something similar, maybe not incarceration, but in a incarceration of the mental mind, that's a form of incarceration too. So how has that story and that journey helped you in a spiritual way to inspire others?
See, spiritually, if I have, to tell it to somebody to inspire them, what I've never been big on religion. Okay. Now, spiritually, I'm one of the guys, I feel that God lies within every man. You know right from wrong, and you know what you're supposed to do. So in order for me to get over the hill, it wasn't until like 2005 that I was blaming people. I was angry at people. And it wasn't until I was able to accept them, like, I got to get past this, because if not, it's going to be really tough for me. So a lot of time people be holding on to stuff. Let that stuff go. You can't move forward. So I was able to, like, my co-defendants, I forget the guy. I don't, what I'm saying? I'm not going to dap him up like, hey, homeboy, but I have no problem with this dude. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go get him, none of that. Even with my kids' mothers, I don't think, they didn't bring, all of them didn't bring the kids to see me. They didn't stay in contact with the letters about the kids. I don't care. I'm good. I shedded all that stuff around 2005, man. You have to, things that you can't control, I cut them loose. I don't worry about them. So when you worry about stuff you can't control, that's stressful. So I would tell anybody, stop worrying about things you can't control. Worry about things that you can control and control them and move forward. So that's what was spiritually. Also, when I was in foster care, my foster family was Jehovah's Witnesses. So while in the system, I would go to the Kingdom Hall meetings periodically, never to get baptized, but I just like the teaching. So I would go there because you got to be grounded some kind of way, man.
Wow.
You got to find your ground somewhere. But that's basically, you have to cut the negative stuff. I don't be around negative people. People that talk, always talking down and pointing the blame. I don't deal with them. I don't even talk to them kind of people. Because when you talk to people like that, it makes you miserable. So that's how I was able to get past a lot of stuff, man. If you ain't got nothing to say, Pop, man, don't come around me. You ain't finna mess my day up.
Yeah, I can dig it. So you did reunite with your kids, and so you know, a lot of people, you know, we are taught as men that society teaches us that we're not supposed to have any emotions. You know, you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be macho. You're supposed to just take that bruise on the chin and keep ticking. But to be away from your children for that long and to find out that you had a son that passed away, how was that emotional energy and that emotional structure to really get back to a great place at in your kids' lives? Because you was gone for so long, and y'all guys had to reconnect and learn one another, get to know each other again. And so, how was that emotional journey?
It was good. Like here in Atlanta, I had 2 daughters here, so of course I didn't see them when I was locked up. I might have seen both of my daughters a total of maybe 3 times. So it, like you say, getting reconnected. There was no reconnection on their end because they were so small when they was infants, so they don't even remember me from being out here.
Right.
So, but when I came home, I spent a lot of time with them, especially my daughter. Almost every day I'm picking up. She may call me, and I live almost 30 minutes away. Dad, I'm hungry. I'm jumping in my car, driving all the way from Stone Mountain to the west side where she lives, just to take her to McDonald's and get her something to eat. Whatever she wanted, I provided. So her mother told me, you know, don't do it like that. But listen, I've been gone, so I got to connect with my kids. But it did happen. The argument that I've tried to avoid with them, of course, one day we had some words, and of course it's come up. You ain't been here for me anyway. You was locked up. I was out here. You know, I ain't let it get to me. Because what happened when I was locked up, I couldn't control. So you can't hit me in the face with it. So like I said, I knew it was gonna come one day.
Right. Okay. Well, so with that being said, how was that transition mentally from a place where you was and your mental mindset into a place where you are now in a mental mindset? So that's a lot of growth that took place over a period of time. And so what can you tell us about the mental capacity from then until now?
What, from like the time I got arrested to like from, oh man, listen, my mental capacity now, like I'm a mature adult right now. I'm a man. You know, like I got 7 grandkids, 3 daughters. I see the world different, man. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not gonna break the law. And keeping employment. Whether you're self-employed, employment is the key. A lot of people that you see locked up and going to jail, they don't have a job, no kind of job. When you got employment, you got a check to look forward to. I don't care how small that check is. Thursday, Friday come, you have to get that check. So just one of the keys to just being positive and stand on that is being employed. Getting some money. Yeah, you got to have, because most people that reoffends, I mean people that go back to jail or prison, they be unemployed, man. And when you sitting around your mother's house drinking beer, sitting around your girl's house drinking beer, then people come home from work, you still sitting on the couch, so they're gonna be mad, they're gonna get tired of you. They're gonna tell you, you gotta get the hell out of their house.
That's right.
Yeah, and when you leave that house, you going on the street corners, hang with the fellas, doing what they're doing, whether they breaking in cars, breaking in houses, selling weed, selling crack, whatever they may be doing, you're gonna end up back into the life of crime. Next thing you know, you're gonna be in the county jail again calling somebody to come bond you out. And it's the cycle. It continues. The cycle continues. But here's the deal. I think what helped me what my transition was a lot easier because I don't do drugs or alcohol, man. I got a clear mind. I know what's going on. So if I'm having an issue with somebody, I'm not going to turn to the bottle. So it was easy. I'm going to be honest with you. Jobs, it's easy for me. And I don't make over $100,000 this year already. So all this stuff was real easy for me. So when people say, man, it's hard out here, to me, it's not hard because I don't have them hang-ups. I'm not chasing a high. I'm not chasing a liquor bottle. I'm not chasing the club. So it's easy. Real easy.
Understood, brother. So that's what I had for you. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Nicole and LAKEYZ. Just wanted to chime in for a little bit and excuse my lateness. I was coming from an event, where I was hosting the event and making my presence known, and I'm the baby mama favorite radio host, so you know how it go.
Yes, I like to say, and for the ladies, y'all have any, like I say, I had to rush through my tale, but if y'all have any question y'all want to ask, just feel free.
Well, we appreciate, for you, King Jacob, we didn't even think that you were showing up. We appreciate that you even took the time to show up. We know that you were accompanying someone else tonight. They needed your assistance, and we appreciate you even stopping by. We thought that somebody had your time for today. So thank you so much for even showing up at Winding Down.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, you are more than remarkable. You are more than a conqueror. And to be able to sit here and tell your story, I am more than great. I understand you. I don't even have sympathy for you. I have empathy for you. And empathy is the ability to understand someone and understand them on the level of knowledgeable understanding. I have empathy for you. I understand what you mean to get to the level of where you have been, where you've been, and you just ain't even mad. You happy.
Yeah.
Can't nothing make you mad now. Can't nothing make you mad now. Can't nothing make you mad now. When you able to wrap your arms around your children and you able to say, I love you, and they do take you to that level. They will try to take you to that point. They do take advantage. They will.
Yeah.
They will. They get about 3.5 years. After about 3.5 years, you get a little pissed off.
Oh, hey, not to cut you off. This one thing, because I went through my story. This one thing I like to add. When I tell you I got arrested, when I got arrested in 1995, the detective asked me what actually happened with my crime. I never gave a statement. Had I given them a statement and told them what happened, I never would have caught a life sentence.
Wow.
So my thing is, when keeping it real goes wrong, I thought I was a tough dude. I didn't have to go through what I went through. All I had to do was tell. You can pull my case up, this Kegler versus the state of Georgia. I never said anything.
Wow.
I have a question for you. And my question, with you going through life and what has happened to you, have you ever thought about opening up a nonprofit organization to help other people who have been in situations like yourself?
Yes, I talked with somebody about that just a few hours ago.
Okay.
Even now with that, even when I was incarcerated, I would every year I'll pull like a Secret Santa thing. There was like a lot of people on Facebook. I would help. I don't help so many people.
And peace, love, and soul.
All right, bro.
See you guys later. Talk to you soon.
All right. You take care. I appreciate y'all inviting me on this allowing this platform for me to actually tell my story.
Absolutely. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
You got my Facebook.
Take care.
We'll keep in touch.
Okay.
Definitely.